Everybody, and welcome to this Tuesday edition of OutKick Bets Show. I am your host, Kayla Knierim, and as always, joining me over there in Alabama is my co-host, Mr. Arky Shea. Arky, it is Turkey Week. We are excited. How are you, my friend?
I'm so good. I just had to weigh my turkey because I'm the turkey guy at our house. I had to make sure, because we also like to do a little deep frying just to make sure we have enough oil for it. And you can smell it. You can feel the turkey in the air, Kayla. Let's get some.
I am already ready for that nap. Yes. What's your specialty on Thanksgiving?
I'm the turkey guy.
What's the Arky specialty? Okay.
I'm the turkey guy. Since I've been 17 years old, I've been Mr. Turkey for our family and for Thanksgiving. Right? So I prepare the turkey. I get the turkey all battered up and basted pretty nicely, and I let that thing crisp. And I've learned a lot of techniques over the years to make sure that turkey's awesome. But I'm King Turkey, baby. I'm the man when it comes to turkey.
What's your secret? Do you have a little magic touch, a little Arky special?
Yeah, well, I like to make sure the turkey is around room temperature before I start cooking it and putting it in the deep fry. I've only done the deep fry the last few years. Okay. And I want to make sure it is very, very thoroughly seasoned on the inside and out.
That's important.
Yes.
I don't get a lot of, Thanksgiving Day privileges when it comes to cooking. And it's the best. That's how it should be. It's best for everyone that way. But I have, the last few years, done a mean version of Brussels sprouts.
Ooh. No, literally, gross. That's disgusting.
It involves maple syrup. It involves bacon, probably some brown sugar. They don't taste like Brussels sprouts. That is why they're good.
Well, yeah, then just take out the Brussels sprouts. What are you talking about? Just eat the bacon and the maple syrup. What are we talking about here?
This year I'm going to try a new one, though. It's a Parmesan Brussels sprout. It's hard to say.
Y'all should stop. Listen, the Lord messed up when he put Brussels sprouts on the planet. I know that's for a fact.
They're good. They've really made a push for themselves these last few years. They're doing new things. They are being inventive, and the more burnt they are, the better.
Yeah. Nothing's better than the smell and the taste of gym socks. Yeah. Num num num.
This is probably going to cause controversy. Not everyone loves Brussels sprouts on Thanksgiving, but that's neither here nor there. All right, let's get to it. Looking at our game of the day, we are going back to some more action. We just can't stay away. We've got Western Michigan. They are 6-5, 3-4 in conference play at Northern Illinois, who is 8-3, 6-1 also in conference, or 6-1 in conference play. The first teams in the MAC East taking on the bottom team in the MAC East. Western Michigan, currently the 3.5-point favorite with a total here of 62.5. Arky, where are you going with this game?
I gotta tell you, Maction even on Thanksgiving week is pretty darn good. Pretty tasty for a little appetizer for the Turkey Day. Listen, this game probably gonna have a lot of points, okay? Northern Illinois gives up a ton, and so does Western Michigan. And both teams scored a pretty high rate, too, especially recently. But I'll tell you this. I think the wrong team is favored here. I'll be straight with you.
I agree. I'm going to get to that. Yep.
I think Northern Illinois is the best team of these two teams this season and playing the best ball right now. They had a lot of things go wrong for them against Buffalo last week, and they still won in overtime and covered the spread, which is pretty nice for us trying to make some of that money. And they are 7-3-1 on the season against the spread. Let's give a shout out to Thomas Hammock. I know he's a huge viewer of this show. We love what you've done with the Huskies. There have been so many rumors about the downfall of the Huskies program, and they were all wrong, because that team that did not win a game last year, they are going to the championship this season for the MAC, and it's because of Thomas Hammock and the team believing in that team. I think we go with the underdog here, the quote-unquote underdog. The real favorites, the Huskies. I like Northern Illinois at home, they're very good at home too. And I like the Huskies to straight up win this game. It's Husky fever in my house.
Is he really a fan of the show?
I'm sure he is. Who's not a fan of the show?
This is true. All right. I am right there with you. Western Michigan has just won 2 of their last 5 and are coming off that close loss to Eastern Michigan last week, as we saw, while the Huskies have now won 4 of their last 5 and are looking to make it 3 in a row tonight. The Broncos are 2-5 against the spread when the favorite of 4 or more. Meanwhile, the Huskies are 7-4 against the spread this season. Western Michigan has combined for the total of 62.5 in 5 of their 11 games. And Northern Illinois is combined for that in 4 out of 11. So long story really short here. I don't know why the Huskies aren't the favorite in this one, having the better record and playing at home, but I will be taking them in this one at plus 3.5. And what's the fun of a action game, Arky, if you're not taking the over? So give me north of 62.5 and let's go wild.
I love the over. Listen, the Huskies not only are 4-1 at home, 8 of the last 11 combined games between these two teams, well, not between these two teams, but if you combine both their schedules, those games have gone over. So the only thing I worry about is Western Michigan's a little more up and down. They're a little more apt to throw up a 17-burger on you as opposed to a 40-burger. But Northern Illinois has been super consistent, especially in the last month and a half. So I'll play the over with you. Western Michigan worries me just a touch for not getting the over. But I think you're going to get a bunch of points tonight, one way or the other. I mean, Northern Illinois is giving up 37 a game in action right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, moving on over to our spotlight matchup, some more action. The Buffalo Bulls, who are 4-7, 2-5 in conference play at Ball State, who is 5-6, 3-4 in conference play. Ball is not a state, by the way. Is that not funny? Is that old? I just remember when Mizzou played Murray State. The fans would always yell during the game, Murray's not a state, Murray's not a state, and it always made me laugh. So yeah, Ball is also not a state, but moving right along. Okay. Buffalo is the dog here at plus 5.5 with a total of 58.5. Arky, who are you betting in this one?
So, this is a hard one. This actually is the hard one of the match to sort of figure out, because if you look at just purely the numbers and even the momentum of both of these two teams, it kind of doesn't really obviously point you one way or the other, right? Like Buffalo is 1-4 most recently against the spread on the road, while Ball State's 1-4 at home against the spread, and we're going to be at Ball State, so you sort of can't figure it out that way. Buffalo puts about 200 on the ground, and the Ball State gives up about 200 on the ground, and you would think that was kind of leaned that way, but not necessarily, because both these offenses are very good. That's why you see the total at 58.5 right now, that they can score, but you just sort of don't expect it. I can't sort of get a read on this spread at all. I have a slight lean toward Ball State, and I'll probably officially make that a pick. Actually, I'm not going to play that. I'm going to go with the 58.5. And you took the words out of my mouth in the last game. It's Thanksgiving week. There are family coming around from throughout the country. We're paying all kinds of high gas prices and high milk prices, and we just want something to feel good in. I want to feel good in some action blankets right now and some points in those action blankets. So I'm going to cozy up for the over 58.5 in this game. I think we get 3 or 4 touchdowns. I think we get 3 definitely from both sides. I think we could see ourselves a 2-touchdown win in favor of Ball State, but we're going to go with the over 58.5.
I like it. Get cozy with them action. That should be their slogan.
Yeah, Buffalo's got 3 straight overs, and I think Ball State's got 4 of their last 5 overs too. Like, it's not clearly impossible these two teams can do it. I struggle with the spread itself. At 58.5, if you can give me a action game under 60, it's almost an automatic hit in play for me. So I get it under 60. I'm going to play it at 58.5, and I'm going to go over 58.5 for the second game of the action, which is my Bulls against my Cardinals, too. That's right. All the MAC teams are my teams, Kayla. I love them. They're my babies.
All right. I'm going to collect myself. Both teams are coming off back-to-back losses. So the good news is one of these teams will end that streak tonight. Neither team really has a lot on the line except, of course, pride. So, you know what, Arky? I just hope they both have fun. Buffalo is 2-9 against the spread this season. Ball State is 3-8 against the spread. The Cardinals also have yet to cover the spread this season when favored by 6 or more. The Bulls are equally bad when covering as 6-point dogs, going 1-5. So I think I'm going to rock with Ball State here at minus 5.5. Meanwhile, Buffalo has gone over this total of 58.5 5 out of 10 times this season, and Ball State has only exceeded that total in just 3 games. So the Bulls are consistently putting up 31.5 points, and the Cardinals are averaging 24.8. The major problem for Buffalo, though, is the 30.8 points they are allowing per game, which is only slightly worse to Ball State's 28.6. So needless to say, I'm staying away from the total, but I think you're smart taking the over. Taking the Cardinals at home -5.5, but I feel like this one could go in either direction.
Yeah, I do too. I think there's a good chance this actually does end up being a really tight game, even though I thought it could be a 2-touchdown game. But I do think these two teams are fairly evenly matched in their scheme and the way they actually play. I give a little more favor to Ball State sort of being at home, but that only gives me 2.5 or 3 points that I would definitely say that I would like in that game. And being that it's closer to a touchdown, I'm not nearly as sold on that being, especially when it's when these two offenses are two of the more plotting offenses that you'll see in the MAC. So I will more likely take the over that they both run up all on each other tonight in some sweet action.
Love it. All right. In celebration of Thanksgiving week, we are doing a special Thanksgiving prop bets all throughout the week. Today's is total passing yards on Turkey Day. Let's take a look at who we have. We've got number 2, Derek Carr, obviously for the Raiders. He is averaging 304.1 yards per game. Behind him is Dak Prescott, who is ranked 7th at 284.1 yards. Josh Allen in the 8th spot, 281.1 yards per game. Jared Goff sits in number 19, 234 yards. Number 21 is Trevor Siemian, who will be in for the Saints, most likely. 230 yards for him. And number 35, Justin Fields, obviously for the Bears. Again, we don't really know who's going to be in those spots, but he is averaging 160.4 yards per game. Arky, talk us through this.
Yeah, so it's sort of interesting to try to figure this one out, right? Because we're still talking about teams that are, dealing with some real significant injuries. I'll start with the Cowboys because they got two of the most significant ones on offense for Dak Prescott. Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb both going to be out for Thursday afternoon's game. And that's a big deal because the Raiders do give up a pretty decent chunk amount of yardage through the year. They give up 231 yards a game. And while that's not the worst in the league, it's not the best. And the Cowboys give up a whole bunch of yards too, but they're going to go up against Derek Carr. And Derek Carr has been great, but the Cowboys also have played stingy on defense at times this season, and they're probably going to have to be really consistent and good on that side to be able to win that game on Thursday because their offense is going to be a little limited. Then you look at someone like the Bears taking on the Lions and Justin Fields being 35th in the league in passing yards per game, and the Lions, they give up a bunch, but the weapons just really aren't going to be there for the most part outside of Moody for the Bears in that game, and that could be what I think is a potentially watch-out game for the Bears, and I think the Lions might be able to win that game at home on Thanksgiving. And then you look at Josh Allen going against the Saints, right? Josh Allen is a really, really good quarterback. He's what do we have at 8th in the league in passing yards, and the Saints surprisingly are really, really not great when it comes to pass defense. They got lit up at the last game against Philadelphia, but that wasn't all through the air. The Saints' big claim to fame right now is their rush defense is very, very good. 1 or 2 games aside, the numbers still blow it out for them. And that game's also going to be in New Orleans. I don't know if Josh Allen's going to be able to be nearly that good on the road in that Superdome against the Saints team, who is desperately trying to stay in a playoff race right now, and the Bills, who are coming off a short week and a really tough outing against Indianapolis. So, all that sort of being said, I think I'm going to kind of lean toward the least of all the teams, or at least of all the weaknesses, which is probably Derek Carr. And it's kind of sort of a favorite pick right now because he's the number 2 guy on this list in the entire league in yards per game that he's averaging. But he's also going to have the best opportunity to have the most yards per game, right? Like,
True.
The other teams just, when you look at the possible strengths they have, really are going to be mitigated by some of the weaknesses that they would have too. So, mainly with when we talk about Dak Prescott losing a couple of wide receivers. So, I think I lean Derek Carr in this case. And I don't like to do it because they're going to go against my boys on Thanksgiving. But that dude's going to probably sling it around a lot.
Okay. I love everything you just said. I'm going to talk through these by game. So, again, going back to the Chicago-Detroit Fields, we don't know if he's playing. 4 touchdowns on the season. His season high in a game is 291. Andy Dalton's, by the way, is 206. We've got Jared Goff. He's at over 2,100 yards on this season, 8 touchdowns. His highest scoring game came against the 49ers in passing game, with 338 passing yards. Looking at Vegas, Dallas, Carr, obviously, he's on fire. Over 3,000 yards, 16 touchdowns. Season high came against Baltimore in week 1 at 435 passing yards. His next highest game was 386, so the guy can throw. Dallas, Prescott has 20 touchdowns on the season, over 2,500 passing yards. His highest game was 445 passing yards against New England in week 6. His next highest was 403, so definitely potential there. As you mentioned, those injuries, though, are going to be a huge factor. Looking at Buffalo Saints, Josh Allen, over 2,800 yards, 21 touchdowns. Highest passing game came against the Jets in week 9 with 366. And last but not least, the quarterback carousel of Winston, Trevor Siemian, and Taysom Hill. Winston, 1,100 yards, 14 touchdowns. We don't know. Do we know who's going to be in for New Orleans? Is it going to be Trevor Siemian still?
It's probably going to be Siemian, but Taysom Hill's still fighting the concussion, but he probably will still be able to play. Listen, New Orleans is a disaster, sort of trying to figure them out too.
It's a mess.
Alvin Kamara might be back, might not. We'll sort of see. He's been hurt the last month, so it's New Orleans is a wild ride to figure out too.
Who knows? All right. Well, taking all of this into account, my money would again be with you and Derek Carr or Dak. I know Cowboys have a lot of injuries. I just feel like it's Thanksgiving at home for Dallas, so I'm going to lean Dak on this one. We'll make it interesting.
Yeah, I would love to be with you, but we're only paying attention to that, not the game. The Cowboys have not had the best recent record on Thanksgiving, so I will lean to root for what you're wanting for, and if that works out, that's fine by me. I don't mind losing. Well, this is a prop bet I don't mind losing. I'll be honest with you.
It sounds like Dallas is due to have a big win on Thanksgiving, though, right?
I feel like I've been saying that for 6 years.
You and every other Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
All right, we shall see who comes out of that on top. Let's look ahead to college football feast week. It is probably the best week in college football. It's rivalry week. Arky, who are you looking forward to? Let's talk through some of these games.
So I really got my eyes on Penn State at Michigan State. This opened at Penn State -1. But that thing is switched back over to Michigan State -1 now. So that makes some sense. I think what's happening is that we're getting a weensy bit amount of recency bias when it comes to this line. Listen, there is no way to excuse how Michigan State played at Ohio State. Like, that beatdown should have been accompanied by like a Russell Westbrook scowl from every member of the Ohio State team. Like, it should have been. Like, it was that bad. By the way, you ever notice how Russell Westbrook always scowls at just anything, right? Like, his scowl is like, you look at him every time he does anything, it's like someone just told him his mama's so fat that she plays for the Steelers. You know? Like, it's just, it's bizarre. It's bizarre.
He's got that mean mug down. Love my guy.
Yeah, it's a lot of mean mugging. It's a lot of mean mugging from Russell Westbrook. Anywho.
I would try to do it right now, but I don't want to look stupid.
There is no excuse for Michigan State's pass defense. None. They're last in the country, but they were last in the country going into last week, and the week before, they're terrible on pass defense. I was surprised that Peyton Thorne was as inconsistent as he was, but also that Ohio State defense is like elite. Okay? Like, this is a different level of Ohio State than it is the Penn State. Penn State defense is fine and it's good. It is not, I repeat, it is not Penn State's defense, okay? These Penn State and Ohio State, very two different classes. Now, Penn State is getting it's a 1-point dog in this game, and it should be more, to be honest with you. I would take this number right now. Michigan State played in their first true road environment last week, and got humbled. But Peyton Thorne and Kenneth Walker III are going to run wild this week when they get back to East Lansing. They have to. All the distractions are gone. The Big Ten Championship's out of the way. They're not worried about that anymore. It's time to get back to business, and you do it by going against Penn State. Michigan State struggles with really good offenses. Penn State's not that. Penn State's a fine, decent offense, but they're not elite, and they're not really good. So Michigan State, for this Feast Week game I'm paying attention to, I think they get back their mojo, and I think they give a nice little touchdown victory over Penn State in their regular season on a high note.
I'm with you there. I'm surprised the spread isn't larger than what it is. Penn State enters this matchup with a shutout win over Rutgers, while Michigan State would rather not talk about it after getting steamrolled by Ohio State, as you mentioned, last weekend, 56-7. That was just wild. I still can't get over it. And falling 5 spots, by the way, to number 12 in the AP polls. Despite all of that, the Spartans are 7-4 against the spread this season, while Penn State is also 7-4 against the spread. In the 7 games that Michigan State has been favored by 2 or more, they have gone 4-2-1. And you know what? That's enough for me. So I'm going to take the Spartans, -1.5. This feels like an easy one, but you never know. And hoping they can collect themselves and bounce back with vengeance and respond in a positive way to adversity that they faced last weekend. If you dare play the total here, you would probably be okay taking the over, as Michigan State has combined for this total in 8 of 11 games, while the Nittany Lions have only reached it in 3 games. So basically, I'm just hoping that the Spartans come to play on Saturday and just blow past Penn State.
Yeah, a game like that, if you're Michigan State, like the thing you want to do most is play immediately. Like, you want to be able to erase that from your memory. And I think that's going to work out in their favor this weekend.
In the words of Coach Eli Drinkowitz, you want to have a 1-0 mentality going into each week.
You're just on cloud 9 after beating Florida, aren't you?
By the way, we didn't talk about this in yesterday's show. Did you love his little mic drop after the game in this press game conference? A little jab at Dan Mullen. We're getting off track.
Yeah, if you missed it, like, he put up his hoodie after taking his last question, said, "May the force be with you." That's a response to Dan Mullen after beating Missouri last year, coming out with the Darth Vader costume to the post-game press conference. It's just...
It was cheesy.
It's stupid. I love it, though. College football's so stupid. I love it.
Never forget. We don't forget. All right, the next game... No one ever forgets. Yeah. The next game we are going to look ahead to is the Iron Bowl. Number 3, Bama, who is, of course, 10-1, at Auburn, who is 6-5. Bama here, the 19.5-point favorite with a total of 55.5. Arky, I know Auburn is your team, yes? Mm-hmm. Okay, tell us about this game and how are you playing it?
So in a normal year, 19.5 is nowhere near enough, right, in this game. Like, Auburn is clearly outmatched. They're going to be missing their quarterback, Bo Nix, who broke his ankle a couple of weeks ago. He is out for this game, clearly. He's already had surgery. He'll be back for next year at some point. Who knows? TJ Finley came in last week, and TJ Finley did okay. He did okay, but Auburn blew another 2-touchdown lead in another game at South Carolina and lost in embarrassing fashion. In fact, the best player on their offense, Tank Bixby, wasn't even getting the ball in the second half. I think he had like 6 touches the entire second half. That's not great. That's not great. Mike Bobo is the offensive coordinator for Auburn, is in a little bit of deep doo this week. Now, you can put everything together and think this week's going to be different, but I don't think it is. Even though games in Jordan-Hare are different for the Iron Bowl than they are when they're in Tuscaloosa under Nick Saban, I don't think we're heading that way. Brian Harsin is allegedly unvaccinated. He is going to go into, in 2 weeks, the potential fact that the university, Auburn itself, could lose as much as $200 million in funding. And he's rumored to be the hot name wanted over at Washington, where he's much more comfortable as a recruiter and as a coach. So, me thinks Brian Harsin may leave for greener pastures for him up in the Pacific Northwest. So, I think all of that gets Auburn beat down pretty good this weekend. Even though Alabama's not the same Alabama that we're used to, I think Auburn gets beat down pretty good at home. I still want to believe that they can cover the 19.5, though. Not just faith, just because it's Jordan-Hare, but Auburn is not the same team right now.
Yeah.
I think Alabama covers the 19.5 at Auburn this weekend.
Well, I have a little more faith in your team than you do. But they are another team that is confusing on paper. Obviously, they've lost the last 3 straight, the most recent to South Carolina. As you mentioned, Bo Nix out. Hasn't been great for them. The most they've lost by this season is 24, and that was to Georgia, followed by A&M at 17, who, as we know, gave Bama their only loss of the season. Bama, on the other hand, is going for their 6th straight win and is averaging 44.4 points per game. That is ridiculous. Obviously, Bama should win this because I have been conditioned to assume they will always win by a large margin. But in this one in 20, I don't know. I'm not feeling super confident about it since they will be on the road and the stats and scores mean nothing when it comes to rivalry games. Maybe it does for Bama. With that said, though, I think I'm going to take Auburn here, plus 19.5. War Damn Eagle, Arky. I still have no idea what that means, by the way.
It doesn't mean much for this game because they're going to get their butts kicked in this game. I'll just say this. So the thing about Auburn University is that the state, and if you're going to get federal funding, every employee has to be vaccinated. And if the rumor is true that he's not, that he may just go to Washington. And so I think that also leans toward him sort of being like, this is my last game. I'm not just going to throw everything into it. I've already got greener eyes. So, I mean, it's been reported that he's a top candidate there at Washington. And Auburn's outmatched anyway. You know, there's only so much a disheartened Auburn fan base can do for you inside Jordan-Hare Stadium. You actually have to have the dudes on the field to do it. And they don't have the stars, the star wide receiver. Their offensive line is not very good this year. Alabama's got the best quarterback and the best defensive player on the field. It just sets up for a bad afternoon. Gus Malzahn might be able to pull something weird, and he has. But he's not there anymore.
Even though it's rivalry week, you don't see anything weird happening?
I mean, Auburn's lost in this game in Tuscaloosa by like 40 before, like in the last few years. So, you know, like rivalry doesn't always. I mean, I'm sure Auburn wants to win it. Sure, I think they'll want like hell to win it, but I just don't think they're good enough to win it. Okay.
And really quick, talking the total here, Bama's games have gone over this total in 10 out of 11 games, while Auburn has seen this total in 5 of their 11. Arky, where are you riding with the total, or are you staying away?
Staying way away from this game. Alabama might put up 50 by themselves. I have no idea, though. I have no idea. Alabama should have beat the crap out of LSU, and they won by 6. So this is the same Alabama team. And let's not forget, Alabama just had their quarterback, Bryce Young, throw for over 500 yards, a program record for in a game, by the way, and 5 touchdowns. And everyone's still talking about C.J. Stroud and the butt kicking they put over on Michigan State just because that was the first game that they saw. So Bryce Young not doing himself any favors. I mean, not doing himself any disservice, I should say. Right. Just stupid numbers from these guys. Yeah. All right, let's look ahead to our final game of Thanksgiving week. Boise State Broncos, who are 7-4, at San Diego State Aztecs, who are 10-1. The Mountain West showdown as both teams sit atop of their division. Boise State is the slight favorite here at 2.5 with a total of 44.5. Arky, who do you like in this one? Okay, so this is a fairly short and sweet one for me. I mean, speaking of Brian Harsin's former team, San Diego State is a top-flight defense, and they're also a really methodical offense. And they've sort of been that way for the last few seasons under Brady Hoke, and it sort of makes sense for them, and they win a good amount of games by doing it, right? They're pretty good in that kind of system. They stay really within themselves. Boise State is not the high-flying Boise State that we're used to seeing. Boise State's gone under a bunch this season, including one we called a couple weeks ago on this show against, I think it was Wyoming. But get this, this is a Black Friday special, okay? And I don't mean like because it's on discount for anybody to buy. It's happening on Black Friday. And this game is kicking off at 9 a.m. local time. 9 a.m. local time. Woo! That is an early one. That is really early to be getting up. When do you start the tailgate? Yeah, I think 4 a.m.? You started on Wednesday, right? Like, you start on Wednesday, and then just hopefully stay drunk through the family on Thursday, and then get to the game Friday. There we go. 44.5 is a good number to get it at to take the under. I don't like teams having to wake up that early and to be really in sync offensively. So as much as they can get up at 2 in the morning and try to be ready, I don't think that they quite will be. I think it'll take them some time. And I think these two offenses and defenses, for that matter, are set up to be able to keep this very, very, very low scoring. In fact, I don't even think we get close to the 44 on Black Friday, so I'm going under 44 for the San Diego State Broncos game. Okay. Who was in charge of scheduling that, by the way? Boise State is going into this one having won 4 straight, and San Diego 3 straight. Both teams have won 4 of the last 5, so this should be a fun one, assuming they're awake. The Broncos are 7-4 against the spread this season, 5-6. The Aztecs have covered twice this season when a 2.5-point underdog. So, short story short, I'm going to go with Boise State here, minus 2.5. Why not? They have fun colors. Yeah, why not live on the edge a little bit, boys? Boise State's a good program, and they're a solid team. Because by virtue of the way San Diego State plays, more teams are able to stay in the game longer. So, yeah, it makes complete sense to think Boise might be able to be in it till the end and do something silly.
All right, let's do it. Let's have fun. And last but not least, today, our games to look out for. Arky, what are you looking forward to?
The Eagles -3 taking on the Giants. 46.5 is the total. The Eagles are coming off a very, very, very impressive win against the Saints. And remember, this was an Eagles team that had not won at home, right, all season. And then
who picked them? Thank you.
Yeah, you did.
Had all the faith in the world.
You definitely had faith in Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith and company because they curb stomped the New Orleans Saints. This name feels like another underplay to me, but I don't know if Philadelphia's sort of starting to feel their mojo and their magic. Jalen Hurts after the game ended up saying, like, what is our identity? Our identity is a mentality. You're like, ooh, okay. Are you using a little Bama talk on us? Because you are trusting the process again here, huh? And it could be true. Philadelphia may be running into form to be a pretty decent team, especially if they're able to run the ball. The Giants aren't in great shape at defending the run. And Jalen Hurts has been known to be able to make some plays. Even though he's just outside the top 15 when it comes to completion percentage, he's got a big play guy in Devontae Smith that he can trust. And when you have the guy like that, all bets sort of seem to be off as far as how bad your offense might be because you can throw up some explosive plays. So Philly on the road -3 might be a live play for me. What do you think, Kayla?
I'm with you, my friend. Listen, the Eagles didn't let me down last weekend, as we just said, so until you disappoint me in a big way, I'm all aboard the Philly train. As we know, after picking up their first win at home, they played better on the road, and oh yeah, it's the Giants. Both teams are heading into the Week 12 off wins. The Eagles, of course, over the Saints, as we mentioned. Giants at home against the Raiders. I think this will be a fun QB matchup in Jalen Hurts and Daniel Jones. Both quarterbacks are averaging over 200 passing yards per game. Hurts with 13 touchdowns and 5 interceptions on the season, while Jones has 8 touchdowns and also 5 turnovers. Moreover, Hurts is also the leading rusher for the Eagles with 114 carries for 618 yards. Guy is doing some work on the field, along with 8 touchdowns. So, yes, the Giants do well in total defense and scoring defense and excel at stopping the run, but I'm still feeling Philly in this one at -3. As far as the total, I think I'm going to take the over. The Eagles have gone over this total of 46.5 in 4 of their last 5. So I like Philly and I like the over. Let's go.
Yeah, I sort of leaned under at the very beginning of this, but I'm lukewarm on that at best. You could talk me into the over very easily. And I think you may have.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. My work here is done. And with that, that's going to do it for us today on OutKick Bets, the show. That is Arky Shea. I am Kayla Knierim. As always, don't forget to make your picks at FanDuel.com/OutKick. And stay tuned for tomorrow. You do not want to miss it. Arky will be doing his wrap because of the bet he lost in the Cowboys-Chiefs game. So we will see you all back here Wednesday. Have a good one.